Okay, I need you to hear this, because something massive has just been uncovered beneath the pyramids, and almost no one is talking about it. They've just discovered something insane beneath the pyramids, and it literally just happened 2 weeks ago. I want you to see this, because using advanced scanning tech from orbit, scientists detected colossal artificial structures buried deep beneath the Giza Plateau. We're talking symmetry, scale, geometry, nothing natural about it. So they turned their focus to the base of the Pyramid of Khafre, and what they found changes everything. No tomb, no forgotten chamber. This was something else entirely. On March 15th, 2025, a team of researchers presented the results of a deep scanning project beneath the Giza Plateau. Buried more than 600 meters underground, the scan revealed a huge system. 8 massive pillars, arranged symmetrically, surrounded by spiral contours, like a staircase or maybe a coil, descending deep into the earth. Below that, 2 enormous cube-shaped voids. That's not natural. That's intentional. And it doesn't stop there. The formation stretched nearly 2 kilometers underground. They're aligned, structured, and they're clearly not random. For context, this scanning method tracks how radar waves shift through solid stone based on vibration. It's usually reserved for earthquakes and volcanoes. But at Giza, the results didn't match anything we've seen before. To eliminate bias, the data was fed into an AI trained to identify geometric anomalies, and what it found beneath the plateau, no match with natural formations anywhere on Earth. At this point, there's still no official word from Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. No press release, no televised statement, but the images are out there, and the implications are huge. Because if these formations are real, then we have to start asking deeper questions. It's becoming clearer with every scan. The pyramids weren't just built where they happened to stand. They were positioned over something we were never meant to see. And maybe something the ancient Egyptians didn't build, but used. There's something about the layout of these underground structures that doesn't feel accidental. The geometry is too clean. The spacing is too exact. And when you realize it all sits directly beneath one of the most iconic structures on Earth, you can't help but feel like this was built with purpose, a very specific one. Some researchers have been saying it for years. Maybe the pyramids were never meant to be tombs at all. Maybe they were functional, part of a larger system, and not just any system, an energy system. It sounds out there, but think about it. Nikola Tesla once proposed the Earth could be used to transmit power wirelessly through resonant frequencies. Now, look at what's buried under Giza. Vertical shafts that resemble coils, giant voids like capacitor chambers, and tons of granite, a piezoelectric material that literally produces electricity under pressure. At first, I thought it was a stretch, but then I saw the patterns. The spiral formations under Khafre's pyramid. They look almost identical to modern conductive pathways, and the entire underground network aligns with major magnetic grid points on Earth. The kind that ancient cultures seem to know about without ever having satellites or sensors. Even ancient Egyptian texts refer to powerful forces beneath the sacred stone. Back then, people read that as mythology. But what if it wasn't? And here's where it gets crazy. The coordinates of the Great Pyramid down to the 9th decimal are 29.9792458 degrees north. That number, it's an exact match to the speed of light in meters per second, 299,792,458. Now, that could be a coincidence, but it's a hard one to ignore. No other ancient structure on the planet comes close to that kind of precision. Not one. So what are we really looking at? Because when you put all this together, it doesn't feel like a royal tomb. It feels like a system, something meant to resonate with the Earth itself, something built to do more than just stand the test of time. And I don't think we've even scratched the surface. The deeper I go into this data, the harder it is to believe we're just dealing with a monument. These underground structures don't just exist, they're positioned. The layout follows invisible lines that stretch far beyond the pyramid itself, lines that intersect with magnetic nodes, planetary energy grids, and even astronomical alignments. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The Great Pyramid isn't just standing anywhere. It sits almost exactly at the geographic center of all Earth's landmass. It's aligned with true north, within 3/60ths of a degree. That's tighter than most satellites could pull off without software corrections. But the crazy part is what's beneath the surface. The newly scanned structures underneath Khafre's pyramid, they mirror the same kind of alignment. The underground shafts and pillars line up along an axis that cuts directly through ancient temples, even the Sphinx, and if you extend that line globally, it hits Teotihuacan in Mexico. It reaches Angkor Wat in Cambodia. It passes through Nabta Playa in southern Egypt. That's not a random scatter, that's a network. Now, here's something else. In geology, there's a principle called resonant frequency, basically the natural vibration of materials. Granite, which is found through the pyramids and possibly these underground formations, is piezoelectric. You apply pressure or sound and it creates an electric charge. Now, combine that with spiral patterns, vertical shafts, and massive chambers deep in the earth. That doesn't just look like design, it looks like a tubing mechanism, something built to interact with frequencies coming from deep within the planet. Even the materials above ground tell a story. The original casting stones of the Great Pyramid were white Tura limestone, incredibly smooth and reflective, almost like insulation or shielding. And when you connect all these dots, materials, measurements, orientation, it doesn't feel like ritual or symbolism anymore. It feels like engineering, advanced, intentional, and maybe even global. I'm not saying this was a functioning energy grid, but I'm not saying it wasn't. Because if this thing was built to interact with energy, whether from the earth or the sky, then it wasn't made for ceremony. It was made for function. And that function might not be entirely in the past. What's coming to light beneath the Giza Plateau might sound unbelievable, but when I started digging into the records, I realized the clues have been here the whole time. Back in 1852, something called the Inventory Stela was uncovered near the Great Pyramid. It's one of the only surviving ancient texts that directly mentions structures existing before Khufu's reign. According to the inscription, the pyramid wasn't built as a tomb. It was built to protect something sacred that was already beneath it. Mainstream archaeologists called it a later forgery. They dismissed it. But the stela describes underground chambers, temple foundations, and structures older than the pyramids themselves. Now, fast forward to today, and we're seeing those same underground shapes revealed in modern scans, right where the stela said they'd be. But it doesn't stop there. In 1993, Egyptologist John Anthony West teamed up with geologist Thomas Dobecki to conduct a seismic study around the Sphinx. What they found? Anomalous subsurface features right beneath the pause, indicating a chamber buried over 12 meters deep. The data was solid. They presented it, but authorities shut the project down. No excavation was ever allowed. To this day, that chamber has never been explored. Then there's the 1978 case. Dr. Louis Caporet and his team claim they discovered a sealed room inside the Great Pyramid, filled with crystalline objects. Instruments, maybe. They reported it to the Antiquities Authority, and suddenly, everything stopped. Access was denied. Documentation vanished. It's a pattern I've seen again and again. Discover something important, then watch it disappear. But this isn't just politics. It's in the architecture too. Inside the Great Pyramid, there are sloped shafts that go nowhere, granite-lined corridors that serve no funerary purpose, blocked passages that descend far deeper than necessary. And this is important. No mummies have ever been found inside. Not one. Even the sarcophagus in the king's chamber, it's rough, unmarked, empty. So I have to ask, if it wasn't a tomb, then what was it? Herodotus, Pliny the Elder, and others all described hidden vaults and mechanisms beneath the site. They were called myths. But with everything I've seen, it feels a lot more like suppressed history, because this place wasn't just built to impress, it was built to conceal. And now, for the first time, we're starting to see what it's been hiding. At some point, you realize coincidence just doesn't explain this anymore. The more I looked into ancient structures around the world, the more I kept seeing the same patterns, same shapes, same alignments, same underlying logic. In the pyramid complex at Giza, it's not just part of the pattern, it might be the key to the entire thing. Let's start with where it sits. The Great Pyramid is located at the geometric center of Earth's landmass. Draw a line through its meridian, and it splits the continents almost perfectly, east to west. It's not the tallest ancient structure, but it's easily the most precisely placed. That alone tells me this wasn't guesswork. This was global awareness, possibly even planetary-level coordination. Now, zoom out. At Teotihuacan in Mexico, the Pyramid of the Sun is aligned with the Pleiades. The pyramids at Giza align with Orion's belt. At Angkor Wat in Cambodia, the layout mirrors the constellation Draco. Over on Easter Island, the Moai statues all face inward, following energy lines some researchers call ley lines, the same invisible paths that intersect directly under Giza. These aren't isolated anomalies, they're pieces of a planetary map, and the similarities don't stop with placement. The stonework itself is next level. At Giza, granite blocks weigh anywhere from 2.5 to 15 tons. In the king's chamber, some exceed 50 tons, cut and placed so precisely you can't even slip a razor blade between them. At Pumapunku in Bolivia, blocks are carved with angles and grooves that modern engineers still can't fully replicate. In Baalbek, Lebanon, stones over 800 tons, lifted and stacked with no cranes, no pulleys, and no explanation. And here's what almost no one talks about: vibration. Giza, Baalbek, Angkor, they all use materials like granite, basalt, and limestone, materials known for their acoustic and piezoelectric properties. These weren't just building materials, they react to sound and pressure. They resonate. In the king's chamber, certain tones create standing waves that physically vibrate the air and the stone. That's not myth, that's measured physics. Confirmed by musicians, engineers, even teams at NASA. And across all these sites, the same math keeps showing up. Phi, pi, the golden ratio. Not just in decoration, but in structural proportions. These are harmonics, geometry designed to hold or move energy. The deeper I go, the clearer it gets. These weren't built just to be seen. They were built to function.